Now, be that as it may, which is going to lead us into our first topic for our discussions, and that is separation of church and state. Okay? Separation of church and state, I believe, or actually the lack of separation of church and state, is the possible root cause of several moral issues that we have in our country today, ranging from the issues that priests seem to have with keeping their hands off of kids, of there seeming to be more hate in the church than love, and so on and so forth. So we're going to tackle this from a little bit different of an approach. We're actually going to be all over the timeline today. We're going to start out with the Founding Fathers. How did they view this separation of church and state? Then we're going to go to the Bible, and we're going to find out if the Bible says, and the Bible does say some about it, about this separation of church and state. We're also going to find out how it applies to our modern world. Okay? So first off, Founding Fathers. There's two camps of the founding, or two camps that of the reason why our Founding Fathers came to America. Two camps. One believes that it was for religious freedom. They didn't want to be under the religious oppression of the Roman Catholic Church anymore. So they wanted freedom to be able to worship however they wanted to. The other camp believes, it has nothing to do with freedom of religion. It has to do with freedom from tyranny and political tyranny. Had nothing to do with religion. It was all about taxes, all about the severe oppression that was going on at the time, and so on and so forth and so on. So, my personal belief is that it was both. And the root cause is what I feel a lack of separation of church and state. That's how it can be both. It's when you don't have separation of church and state, religious tyranny then becomes political tyranny. And political tyranny becomes religious tyranny. Okay? So, we got separation of church and state. Now, I'm going to prove that. First off, in today's world, not just in today's world, but in the time of our Founding Fathers, who would you say would be the most powerful political power in Europe? It's not a trick question. The Vatican. The Vatican, I believe, and I believe a lot of you will agree, that the Vatican is and has maintained to be the most powerful political power in Europe. Now, the Vatican being the most powerful political power, that doesn't sound like such a bad thing, until you realize what that resulted in. When you have a religious institution also be the most powerful political power, you have things happen like the Crusades. You have things happen like the Holocaust. You have things happen like the Salem witch trials. All three of these things happen because of a lack of separation of church and state. And if you could picture it, if you can even picture it, a Europe whose church kept its hands and its nose out of politics, I think you would agree the Crusades would never have happened. Because the Crusades were killing the infidels. Basically, what happened is there was too much politics in its pulpits and too much preaching in its politics. And that is the reason why our founding fathers wanted to get the hell out. The next point I want to make about our founding fathers is the church will emphasize on the fact that of the 55 men who formed the Constitution, 52 of them were active in church. And they tried to use that as a support for us being built as a Christian country, as a Christian nation. Here's the problem with that. Of the 55 men who formed the Constitution, 3 of them were not active in church. A Christian nation cannot be made up of non-Christian members. In short, a nation is no more Christian than its least faithful member. And you can apply that to other countries and other religions as well. If Iraq, the very first second that Iraq elects a non-Muslim official, don't you think that the country is going to start questioning its religion? It can no longer announce Islam as its national religion. Next point. Basically, and so all of this came to the point of, and this is the whole reason why there is so little. There's vague references in the Constitution, but there's nothing overtly Christian about it. Okay? The reason is because they knew from past experience in Europe that if you add the church plus state, you get war blood on your priest's hands. The last point I want to make is the Constitution, while having vague references, and I've kind of touched on this, while having vague references to God and the church, does not attest Christianity as the sum of its parts. Other countries do have that. Countries that have a national religion, they have a statement in their constitution or what have you, the legal documents, stating that their religion is Christian, or is whatever religion it is, Muslim, Buddhism, whatever. While many of our laws are patterned after the Ten Commandments, I do not believe this is a link to religion at all, but rather a link to one of the clearest, oldest, and most basic legal codes. See, Christians keep looking at the Ten Commandments from a spiritual standpoint. That's the problem. When the Ten Commandments were written, there was nothing spiritual about it. The Ten Commandments and the Law of Moses were not just a list of moral principles. They were real laws, much like our laws against underage drinking, speeding, or drug possession. They carried very, very real penalties here on this earth. They weren't just principles to live by to get a better afterlife. They were legal, and you had legal penalties if you didn't follow them. God was their government, and Moses was one of their founding fathers.